Everyone, and welcome to Coffee Talk and Common Sense. Listen, you may not know me, but I'm Daniel. You might know me online as Daniel Speaks Up 1 on Instagram and Daniel Speaks Up on TikTok. Now listen, I decided to start a podcast because, look, I have 1 minute on TikTok, okay, to get my point across. And most of the time, that's not enough time. That's not enough time. So I need a little bit more time to get my point across. And stepping into the political game, it wasn't anything that I ever planned on, you know? It was something that came about so naturally, you know? This episode, I'm just going to talk about how I came to the realization that conservatism was for me. I started as a liberal, okay? Straight out of high school, 18. And what really struck me when I got red-pilled, okay, was 2020. Now, some people might have criticisms over 2020, and I get it, I do. But for me, I just felt like it was a time that it was so critical because you have so many different opinions, and this is what I saw. I remember going into 2020. So when did COVID start? That was March of 2020. Well, before then, I was a liberal. Now, I will say liberally, same. And I would always think of things like a Hillary Clinton would say, or like a Barack Obama would say, or, you know, these liberal people. I didn't know social media liberals so much because, well, just because I didn't know them and I didn't really follow politics. So in this episode, you're going to hear about all of it. So let's go. Okay. So, I was born August 14th, 1997. I'm not going to fuck off. I'm not going there. I am a straight up Leo. If you guys follow astrology, I'm a Leo through and friggin' through. I don't follow astrology as much as I love to hear about astrology, but I just don't follow it that much. But I am a Leo through and through. And I'm very convincing, very persuasive, and I'm a very good salesman. You have no idea. Just a very good salesman. And I've always had that natural ability to connect with people that made sense. Does that make sense? I've always had that natural ability to relate to somebody, okay, on a higher level, than just, kind of going through the motions. I was always that person that was the leader of the group. I don't like giving up control. And it's not my favorite thing, to even think about because it gives me anxiety. Actually, it gives me anxiety. Not having control over something, that's where anxiety comes from. You see what I'm saying? Now, in politics, we never really talked about politics all that much when I was growing up. We really didn't talk about it at all. It was just kind of there, When I got introduced to politics, I'll never forget, we were having dinner at my grandfather's house, and my grandpa was the best human ever, but he was also kind of into politics, but also just locally in Philly, and he was very into it. Now, I never understood how much he did until I got older. And, even then, we never really talked, we never got into the nitty gritty of politics, you understand? So the way that I was introduced to the different parties, of course, we, talked about it in, middle school, and, we had, the social studies and the history and all the things, but we never really got to the nitty gritty of things. And I'll never forget this dinner. I don't know what year it was. I don't know, I don't know any of that. But what happened was we were talking, and I forget how we got there. I can only imagine it was around when Barack Obama got elected. And I was introduced to Republicans as people who just care about money. That's what I was introduced to. We didn't really talk about Democrats so much, but if I'm putting two and two together, the Democrats have always been the social party, the social issue party. You know what I'm saying? And remember, this was a little bit different back in the day. Nowadays, liberals, we're getting a little cray-cray, and, I'll leave it there. But this was back when you had decency, and John McCain and, Barack Obama. Like, they never let anybody talk bad about them, like when they were with each other. Like, this is politics back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Today's Liberal Party is not the Liberal Party of JFK, let me tell you that, okay? This is not the Liberal Party that we see today. This is not the Republican Party that we see today, okay? The morals, the values, that's all the same, but it's a little bit different too. So being introduced to a Republican Party that was worried about, money and, things like that, and it was just really just economy based, which I understand and I can still see, and I can still see how someone could, relate that to the party. But for me, I've always wanted the truth, okay? I don't want you to play checkers with me. I want you to play chess. I don't need you to sugarcoat nothing. I don't need you to even kind of make it seem like something is sweet when it's not, okay? So what really happened was I was introduced to, okay, if they care about social issues, they obviously care about humans more than the Republicans. What party am I in? Well, there you go, right? I couldn't even vote yet, okay? Let's not forget that. Let's not forget. But I would hear these things and I'm like, okay, they care about social issues. Why don't Republicans care about social issues? Well, then what happened was, I think it was, don't quote me, but I think this was like 2012, 2013 is when the whole Trayvon Martin thing came down. And, horrible, still horrible to this day. I really took a second and to say, holy shit, this is what they meant. Because then you started seeing, years later, you started seeing, well, Black Lives Matter, and you started seeing all these things, and you're starting to see people dog Republicans like Republicans don't care about these things. You see what I'm saying? So here I am, 18. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, whatever it'll be, I don't care. Now I'm hearing Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Okay. So Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. All right, here we go. Hillary Clinton came to Philly and did a rally at the Fillmore, and I'll never forget. I went by myself, and 18. This is when I used to do YouTube back in the day. It was great. Vlogged the whole thing. I thought she was the smartest thing going. You couldn't tell me nothing about hills. Let me tell you something. Listen. Being 18, listening to that woman, I was like, yo, she got it all together. Her husband was this, and he went over, forget it. I was like, this is my girl now. So at her rally, I'll never forget, they gave out stickers, and I had my sticker, that had it on my bedroom door, the whole nine, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, she's going to give me this for free. She's going to give me that for free. She's going to do this over here. How you doing? All right, I'm down for that. Oh, wow. Now, all I'm hearing in the media, okay, is Donald Trump's a racist. Donald Trump's a xenophobe. Donald Trump is homophobic. Donald Trump is this and that, and over here, how you doing? I'm 18. Don't forget that, okay? I'm listening, all right? And I'll never forget this too. I forgot to mention this. I remember when Donald Trump first came down and announced that he was running for president. I was so friggin' excited. You have no idea. I don't know why I was so excited. I kind of felt like, okay, hear me out, okay? Just give me a sec. Wendy Williams was one of my favorite people ever. Is still one of my favorite people ever. I wish she was still on there. And she would have Donald Trump on, and, I would see Donald Trump, like, being friends with these people. Like, he was friends with Whoopi and Joan Rivers and, like, all these people. All these people he's friends with, right? So I'm like, oh, this has to be a good thing. Well, and I'm thinking, here he is, and we all thought this. I mean, let's be honest. We all thought this. Me, you, everybody. Here he is, from New York, has the biggest developments, has the biggest real estate, the whole 9 yards, okay? He has to be a Democrat. You're from New York. You have to be a Democrat, right? This is what I'm thinking. So then, he's part of the conservative party. I says, oh, how are we going to manage that? Now, Don, you're deceiving me. How are we going to manage this? Remember, I'm 18. This is 2016, right? Well, I kind of started hearing the way he was talking, and I kind of said, all right, why does this make sense to me? Because again, all I would care and all I would listen to is Hillary Clinton, okay? And I really I didn't give Donald Trump the time of day the way that I should have. And, you know, and I'm 18. I'm not talking politics with nobody. I had like one friend that we talked about it, and I was like, oh my God, how could he do this? I worked at a job, and I'll never forget election night when, he actually won, and my manager was just like crying in the back. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck is wrong with you? You're crying because Donald Trump got elected? Oh, I know, I do. And I was like, okay, he can't be, okay, he got elected president. What the hell? I didn't think he was going to get elected at all. None of us did. Okay, listen, there were some people that say that they thought that he was going to get elected and they knew it all along. No, they didn't. I'm telling you, no, they didn't. Okay, because we all said, how can he be elected president, right? So, election night comes. I vote for Hillary. All right, here we go. We all make mistakes. And I'm thinking, I'm like, how can he be elected friggin' president? How the fuck can that happen? Okay? Well, he's elected. I didn't really pay attention. This is 2016. I didn't pay attention for the longest time. I really didn't. I didn't care. All I heard was, all the social issues that you can think of, the Me Too and the Black Lives Matter and the Asian hate and all the things. And this is what I'm hearing. All right. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm a liberal, duh. Well, lo and behold, 2020 comes around. It was a surprising time for me because I, right out of high school, I got a job. I worked right out of high school. I work with the public, no less. And I never had that time to just sit the fuck down. Okay? I never had that time. COVID was the time where I got to sit the fuck down and go to Acme and fucking go cook dinner and, and make the bread. Remember the whipped coffee? Make the whipped coffee. We had a birthday party for my niece, and I'll never forget. This was like peak COVID. I'm talking, her birthday is in April. Okay? April. And we did the whole thing, right? We did the drive-by, the honking, the whole thing, right? Yeah, okay. Well, look. COVID was it was a time. And meanwhile, as I'm, going through the motions, doing the whipped coffee, watching the TikToks, and, doing everything that we're all doing together, right? What was I doing in the meantime? Every friggin' day, President Trump would hold a press conference, right? So I'm listening. I'm tuned the fuck in. I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm tuned the fuck in every day. Okay? It was almost, I think it was like 4:00 every day that this man would do a press conference. And for some reason, and this is about the time that I'm getting red pilled, right? So I'll never forget, it was early on in COVID, early, even probably March. And all anybody is telling him to do is to close the country, right? That's what everybody's saying it. There were some Republicans that said it, Democrats. It was bipartisan. Okay, close the country. Well, Republicans didn't want to close the economy, believe me, you. But I can tell you that there was a lot of people saying, close the fucking country. What the hell? Here he is. Look, boom. We told you he would get us into World War III. Wow, no less a friggin' pandemic. Mm-hmm. Well, every day he would come on, he would say, let's be safe, let's do the thing, but let's open our country. And I never was scared of COVID. It never scared me. I didn't want to wear the mask. When it first came down that there was like a mask thing, that, I'm like, doesn't Japan do this all the time? Aren't they always in masks? I'm like, what the fuck are we doing over here? We're in America. What are we doing? No. Well, here's President Trump saying, look, it's up to you. And there was people now. In the midst of it, though, I got to admit something. Give me a second. So I would see that there would be ladies going to the grocery store who, they would ask them, can you please put your mask on? Like, put your mask on. And then they would go into, well, it's my constitutional right not to. But then I'm like, lady, just put the fucking mask on. Just shut the fuck up, okay? Just shut the fuck up. What are we doing? Well, then I was like, okay, now I get it. I understand what that meant. You know what I mean? Because at first I was like, who cares? Just put on the fucking mask and call it a day. Well, now I understand, Now, I remember the day that I was majorly red-pilled, okay? And it was such a stupid instance, but it just made so much sense as to why I was red-pilled, okay? Joe Biden said that we should close the country to China, because China is the originator of COVID, okay? That's what we knew. That's what we know, right? Now, here's Joe Biden saying that we should close the country to China. And Donald Trump said the same exact thing. Now, who the fuck do you think that they said was racist? It wasn't Joe Biden, okay? It was Donald J. Trump. Now, I looked at that and I remember reading, and this is when Twitter was Twitter, see? And I remember reading that very vividly on Twitter. Joe Biden saying, close the country. Just close the fucking country. Well, Joe, what are you doing? Okay? Why wasn't anybody calling him racist? See? Now, did Trump say like, oh, China virus, go, who cares? Who cares? It's just things. So for them to call Joe Biden racist because of that, and remember, okay, every day I'm going to Dunkin', I'm going to Acme like it was fucking clockwork, okay? Every friggin' day, right? And every day at 3 or 4 p.m., I would always watch the press conference. So I'm hearing what the fuck he's talking about. I'm hearing firsthand what the president's saying, right? And here we go. He's racist, he's xenophobic, he's this, and the press corps, and all the things, and everybody's asking questions, but then everybody's like 6 feet, and then everybody's over here. There was so much mixed messaging, right? Well, then I went on another exploration. Well, what's the Constitution? Well, I knew what the Constitution was, but why do we care, I went down the rabbit hole of learning, American values, again, and not the ones that they taught us in school, because the one they taught us in school was bullshit, okay? You're in school, you're being indoctrinated, you don't even know it, but here you are thinking you're fucking smart. Yeah, I know. Well, now I'm starting to question everything. I'm starting to question why the Democrats are the way that they are. And the Republicans just start making sense to me. I was like, why do these people make fucking sense? This makes sense. The things that they are doing makes sense, right? I was like, why though? Now we're arriving up into summer of 2020. Now, summer of 2020, that's when the whole unrest of the George Floyd came down. Well, I was shocked to see that, and this is my, this is like getting red-pilled, but also in the middle of it. I was shocked to see that a police officer would take that much force on a person because of a fake bill. That was annoying to me. What are we doing? You know what I mean? What are we doing? Well, now here we are, years later, learning some things that we didn't know then. See? And that's what the liberals do sometimes, see? They make accusations. They don't know how to back it up, but they make accusations and then they want us to remember and they want us to, take it seriously. Well, then we started learning some things. And I'm like, okay, so they're burning the cities. They're looting, they're rioting. Okay, I have a Target that's 0.6 miles away from me. That was looted and boarded up at one point. I live in one of the bluest cities, okay? Philly, all right? Any of the retail workers that I knew from Center City called me. Oh, we're okay, but the store is destroyed. Okay, that's good. That's really nice. So then I'm like, okay, well, this isn't the way to fucking do this. Because at first I'm thinking, you know what, do what you've got to do. You've been through enough, you know, and I'm talking like race. I don't really like talking about race, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm like, do what you got to do. But then I'm like, okay, well, that's not the way to go about it, right? Now, this is when I'm starting to discover, you know, personalities and commentators and political people, right? So I found Candace. Well, then I found Charlie Kirk. Well, that's when it all changed a little bit for me, because the way that he would word things and the way that he would, and I don't remember if he started I think he was doing the campus tours, but I don't think it was as big as it was, right? It was kind of like, you know, just getting started kind of thing, right? But the way that he would explain things, I was like, why does this make sense to me? Why am I relating to this? Okay? And he's Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, like all these people, right? Brett Koopa, Blair White, these are people that I'm finding now. Now I'm curious about these people, right? Well, why does Blair White make sense to me? She's talking about every trans person, but why does she make sense to me? She is trans. How can she be a Republican? Well, Candace, you're black. How can you be a Republican? That's what I'm thinking. My liberal brain. That's what I'm thinking. Okay? I'm dead fucking serious. Well, and I'm thinking, how can these people, Charlie, okay, I get it. Like, he was the white male that everybody thinks that, is the Republican Party. Obviously not. Look at me. Now, I'm thinking, okay, why did these people get it? Now, Candace is telling stories about her grandfather and how he grew up in the South with like real racism, and he's going through all these things, but we didn't go through anything. I remember there was a campus that they went to, and she said, this is the most privileged group of people ever, and she put everybody in there, black, white, everybody, right? Why? Because we're not going through nothing. Nothing's going on. What? You walk out the door, you're gay, and he calls you the F word? Get the fuck over it. What are you gonna do? This is what we're going through. More on that later. Now, I'm thinking, okay, so Candace, okay, all right, yeah, it's just making sense to me. Well, then I started really, really reading things, and well, I'm not a big reader. I don't really like to read. I like an audiobook. I like, a video. Okay? I don't even like a movie. It's too long. I don't have that, attention span. But, so I'm listening to people. I like this. I'm listening. I'm thinking, okay, all right, yeah, well, that makes sense. But then I had to ask myself, what makes sense about it, though? Right? I'm a liberal. I'm gay, And then just to preface with, I never had a coming out. I didn't need to come out. I didn't think I did. What the fuck am I coming out of? You know what I'm saying? Why am I coming out? I'm already out. Look at me. All right? I'm already the fuck out. What else do you want me to do? You know what I mean? Well, there's that. And I was like, okay, but I can't. There's no way that I can agree with these people. Look at me. I can't agree with these people. So to bring it back a little bit, I started acting classes when I was 13. I was always into acting. I remember there was a time, and we were in the car, and my grandfather, he was like the best human ever. And we were driving, and I heard an ad on the radio, and it was for Disney Channel, Disney Channel talent. Like, they needed talent. Hello, I'm right here. Hello. This is when I'm like 13. I could have been 12. And I called. I did. I didn't know what the fuck I was calling. What am I doing, right? So I'm calling. Called. Got an audition. Who am I auditioning with? I don't fucking know. I told my grandma, I don't know who I'm auditioning with. Who gives a fuck? It's for Disney Channel. Put me on there. Hello, I'm from Philly. Any money? So I go through all that. And then my grandpa calls for me. My dad's there, and all the things. It's legit. We got a fucking audition, guys. We got an audition. Go to the audition. It was great. Got in. Not flew. My grandfather paid for everything. Went to Florida. all right? We did the whole Disney World thing, but we were in Florida. We were in the, the hotel. It was like I had an audition every day, It was just like one of those things where you'd see the casting directors. It was kind of like a scam, but it was also like, oh, love this. I'm in Florida, So I was always into acting. Well, so then a couple years go by, and then I'm looking at, acting, and, at this time, right? So Tyra Banks was on her show. She was talking about scams in the acting and the modeling field, right? If they, if you have to pay for everything, it's your fault, they're scamming you. Well, I call this agency, and they were so close to me, right? Well, got an audition with them too. So here we go, right? And it was, it was kind of like a talent. Think of this particular situation as like a talent school. You would go in and you would take acting classes, you would take modeling classes, take commercial classes, you would take on camera classes, like all the things, right? So it's like a school. But these people that are running the school, I never forget her. I still have her on Facebook till this day. And she was well known, and I'll never fucking forget where my life took a 360. Okay? I was in the commercial acting class, and a makeup artist comes in. She says, well, you guys need, she was giving it to everybody. Listen, she was giving bags of makeup to everybody, right? Let me preface with that, because I was scared as fuck. I was like, oh shit, here we go. I gotta put on makeup. Oh fuck. Yo, let me tell you something. This was the days of Jerseylicious, Jersey Shore, the bronzer, the fake tan, the smoky eyes, the whole thing, right? I'm so down for it. So I take headshot pictures. My bronzer, I had a bronzer mustache. I had bronzer everywhere, right? And I'll never forget, I got so obsessed with makeup. You have no idea, okay? I would wear makeup everywhere. I'm like 14, 13. I don't even know how old I was. I was like teen, I was before 16. What the hell was that? It was definitely before 16, right? So here I am, and I'm scared as fuck, because I'm like, okay, I know I need to wear makeup, but I don't need to wear makeup everywhere, but I love this makeup. Why do I love this makeup? I love this makeup. So I started doing makeup everywhere. I'll never forget, it was a conversation in the basement of my grandpa's house. My grandpa passed away, and we were cleaning up the house. And we were in the basement. I was with my dad and my aunt, and my dad, he clocked it. He clocked the little makeup I had on, right? My aunt goes, oh no, it's just, she's trying to like gear the conversation, take the conversation another way. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? Because I'm thinking I'm doing something normal, right? I'm in acting classes. I'm still taking acting classes. Well, dropped the acting classes at one point, and then just went right to makeup, because then I found YouTube. So now I'm going through, I would watch everybody on YouTube. Jaclyn Hill, Manny, Patrick Starr, all the people. This now we're getting a little later in the timeline, and I would watch everybody, okay? And there was not one person I didn't love. I love Michelle Phan. I love It's My Ray Ray, Mitra B. I'm talking old school YouTube, good days of YouTube, right before it got fucked. And, Mac Barbie, Trisha Paytas, everybody, okay? This is who I want to be. Now I'm like, oh, I love makeup. Okay, let me do YouTube. I had a best friend. We did YouTube together. And we're going in. Listen, we went and got cameras, the what do they call, DSLR or whatever the fuck it is. We went and got cameras, we went and got lights, we went and got like everything. And this was not all at once, because it cost a lot of money. So I'm asking for cameras for my birthday and for Christmas. I'm asking for lights and this. And it was so good for so long. And then, I don't know, I fell out of love with it because it started becoming too professional. Like, everybody had like backdrops and money and all the things. And here I am with a fucking camera and a hope and a prayer, right? Well, then I'm thinking, okay, so love YouTube, but it's not my jam, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to be the next big shot. I'm thinking I'm going to make 12 million a year, all the things. I'm 16, 17 probably. Well, 18, got a job. All right. Had to stop the YouTube thing, right? So now we're coming up on getting back to the COVID conversation, because that was my makeup story. That was it. That's all it is. I still love makeup to this day. I will take 2-3 hours on makeup, not literally, because I just don't have that kind of time, but I will take, a good hour. But for some reason, I always felt a disconnect, right? Nobody was listening to me. No matter what and this is like before social media was social media that we know today. Nobody was listening to me, and nobody was like, subscribing. Like I had like, 600 subscribers or something, or 1,000 subscribers. And I'm like, oh, we're on top of the world. Well, reality set in, and I had to get a job. So I had no time for YouTube, right? I have no time. I don't have time, right? Well, YouTube kind of changed too, the beauty community, all the things changed. And that was what I was aspiring to be a part of, see. Well, now we're rounding up until 2020, now 2021. 2021 is when I really got into the headlines of politics. So I wasn't researching anything like I do today. I don't, this is not that, right? I'm just kind of going with the flow, Oh, Trump did this. All right, well, cool. I didn't know what it meant. I knew he was doing great stuff for the world, but, I didn't know anything. But now, 2021, we had Joe Biden. Well, what the hell? Everything flipped. I started seeing things a little bit different because I'm like, wait, now I know what wrong looks like, right? 2021, 2022, 2023. Now I know what wrong looks like because I was only exposed to Donald Trump being in office. I didn't care when I wasn't old enough to care when Obama was in office. So I was only exposed to President Trump, right? Well, now I got President Biden, and now I'm like, ooh, this is what wrong looks like. This is not good. And then everything that came down about him, shaking an invisible person's hand, and, all of them things came down, right? And he was still at that one, Juneteenth party, Kamala's dancing, he still is. I'm like, okay, there's something not wrong here. There's something not right here. And not only is it not right, but not for nothing, they're letting illegals come into our country in huge amounts of numbers. And remind you that I still, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, all the people, I'm still keeping up with them, right? Not as much as I do to today, but I'm keeping up, right? All right. Now, what the fuck is this? Joe Biden's in office. What the hell is going on? Now I'm pissed. Now you're gonna piss me off, actually. And I'm like, how can one person come in and destroy a whole fucking country? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And I didn't want to make sense of it. See? So now I'm like, oh, this is what wrong looks like. Okay. So now we're winding up, and I'm really doing this shorthanded. Maybe I'll do like a long, we're winding to the 2024 election. Well, in 2020, I voted for, Donald Trump. Then here comes 2024. Of course, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. But what the hell's going on? Why was he able to go into office and do what the fuck he did? Why was he able to do that? Well, now I started to be exposed to the country that I knew existed, but I didn't know that still thrived. Does that make sense? Now I'm being exposed to people who don't know what goes on, right? And I'm thinking in my head, okay, I'm still a Republican. I can't come out yet. I don't like this. I don't like the politics game, but this makes sense to me. I don't know why this makes sense to me, but it makes sense to me. So around 2022, I made a post on Snapchat. I'll never forget. And I put a post on Snapchat, and I pretty much went down the list of like, what the hell's going on? This is what Trump did good. This is what Trump, I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I lost like 1,000 friends. And this is before this is before all this. Okay. I'm talking like my friends, the people that have met me, and like, 1,000 people, right? just from saying that I support Trump. Well, here we are, right? So I'm not really, I'm doing the makeup. I got another job. And then, I'm doing the makeup thing. I'm doing makeup on people. I'm, in retail, all the things, right? So I kind of put politics on the back burner. Now I'm going to take you into 2025. I couldn't believe the amount of lying, okay, that there was on the TikToks. There was people legitimately lying through their fucking teeth about how their family was being kidnapped and abused and all the things from ICE and from deportation and all the things. And they're fucking lying, okay? And you wanna know how I know they're lying? Because their videos got taken down and then they had to put a fucking apology video out. That's how I know, okay? And I clocked it from day fucking one. So let me tell you something. I'm on the way, I'm in the Uber to work, and this is like 7:30 a.m. 8 a.m. I make a video, and it's outside of my job. And it's basically just saying, if you're fucking illegal, you gotta go. Plain and simple. I didn't make it hard. I didn't say anything out of line. I'm making it plain and fucking simple. And it's not from a Republican point of view. It's not from a Democrat point of view. It's from a fucking common sense point of view. See. And I'm making it clear that, yeah, if you're illegal, you have to go. That just is what it is. I'm sorry, but you have to go. Okay? Made that video. Make another, well, that was that video. And I put it on my personal TikTok, where I had all my friends and things, and my business people and all that thing. And I was like, wait, I can't post this here. I don't want this here. I need something to be separate, right? Because I can't keep doing this, right? If I keep doing this, then God knows, Well, I made another TikTok. And that TikTok was Daniel Speaks Up, right? Because I'm like, oh, cool. So I post that video. Got a couple comments that were ridiculous. And, I knew what was coming, right? More on that later. I knew that if you're going to talk your talk, you better fucking back it up, right? So then I made another video about illegal immigration, but then I made a video and it was I forget the actual context of it, but it was if liberals are going to keep talking, something, Donald Trump is still your president. But also at the end, I would always ask these questions. When I first started, I would always ask these questions. I would always go, well, what is a woman? I would just pause it. What is a woman? That video blew up, right? So now we're getting 1,000 followers a day. It was great, right? Post another video, and I kept posting because I was like, you know what? I have community with these people, people that think like me. Holy shit! I know that I set myself apart, and there's a point of differentiation between me and a Charlie Kirk. I know that there's a point of differentiation because you're not expecting me to get on God's TikTok. You're not expecting me to get on God's TikTok and start talking my Republican talk. You know what I mean? Look at me, right? So we're playing identity. I'm playing this in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm not thinking of anything, but everybody's like, oh, I wanted to scroll this video, but God, you made so much sense. Here's an immediate follow. Well, then posted another video. Well, that video went viral on X. So now I'm getting 10,000 a day. And I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? And every time, and it was so fun. It was so funny to me because of how much I worked on my YouTube life back in the day, how much I worked on it and wanted it so bad. And now I have what I wanted back then. It was crazy. And this is just the beginning, right? I'm not fucking stopping anytime soon because, look, people need to hear this, right? And I'm noticing the algorithm is set up greatly. I'm being pushed out. I'm not shadow banned or anything. Even though I'm talking politics, I'm talking my talk. Now we're in the realm, and this is a couple weeks later. Now we're in the 100,000s. The 100,000s. The fuck is that? Me? 100,000? What are we doing? Well, so then we keep going. Now I make the Instagram, right? So now I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram. And I started to really like the community that we were building, because I want to get away. This is my biggest, if I make any impression on anything, my biggest footprint in this whole social media thing is to find community in people that think alike, but also want to push their thinking. So I've never been a person to say, don't tell me you're a liberal, show me you're a liberal. That's what I want. You know what I mean? I don't want you to sit here and say that Republicans are this and Donald Trump, and you hate Donald Trump and you hate the Republican Party, you hate MAGA. I want you to tell me why the fuck you're a liberal, okay? And if you can't, then I know you were like me in 2016. Now, when I think of things like doing I'll also never forget, also, side note, I also will never forget going into work that one day that I felt this burnt, I don't know what it was. I felt like I had to get a message out, and I needed someone to fucking hear me, okay? Because my one coworker, God bless her, and we would talk all the time, and she was like, yo, post the video and keep posting every fucking day. I'm not kidding. Like, I want to see a post from you every day. I'm like, yeah, but I don't, I know things, but like, you know, I need to brush up on some things. She's like, who cares? You know common sense. Put it out there. All right, well, here we fucking are. Here the hell we are. And it's so funny to me because back to what I said before, when I did makeup, no one fucking listened to me. Unless I was doing it on you personally. No one would ever fucking listen to me. You know what I mean? I know what the fuck I'm talking about, but no one would ever listen. Now here the politics comes. Now people are listening. And it's so crazy because some of the people that I watched now follow me, and that's crazy to me. I put a lot of emphasis on like celebrity, you know. I'm the person that when Ellen had her show and she would invite people on and she would invite people's like celebrity, like, you know, what am I trying to say? Like inspirations, I guess, like their favorite celebrities, like Taylor Swift or whatever the fuck. And this person would cry. I would fuck. I'm not a crier. But you know what I did when those fucks cried? I did too. Because I'm like, I get it. Like if I meet my favorite people, like that's like a whole nother, like, listen, I have one person that I've been a fan of for fucking ever. And it's Tracy DeMarco from fucking Jerseylicious. This bitch probably thinks I'm a fucking stalker, you know? But there's just something about her, okay, that, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen Jerseylicious, but like, it was always, like, for me, that was like my peak fucking time, my peak time, and always on Style Network, always getting ready for, you know, Jerseylicious style, the whole thing. But Tracy stood out to me because she was always portrayed as the villain, but for some reason I knew. There was something about her that wasn't that villain character. I always knew, and remember, I'm like 15, 16, okay? I'm like, there's no way that she's the villain. She just seems different to me. There's no way. Well, lo and behold, now that we're years and years down the line, now we know the bitch wasn't the villain. You see what I'm saying? Not the bitch, you know, just relax. And I've always idolized her. She's the most beautiful human ever. And it's one of those things where I'm like, can I be that for someone else? You know? I may not be a fucking stick figure, you know, 150 pounds over here and like sculpted cheeks. Like, you know, I mean, you know, we're sculpted a little bit, but that's my sculpt. You see what I'm saying? Not God's. And we may not be that, but I can sit here and I can talk my shit. Now, listen, what else I gotta tell you is back to the conversation of what the actual footprint is. Like, I don't want to, it's not about changing your mind about things, you know? It's about, if you believe it, say it with your whole fucking chest. I don't care where you work. I don't care who your kids are. I don't care what goes on. I don't care what you do in your personal life. If you believe it, say it with your whole chest. And what I really want us to do is stop making politics a scary topic to fucking talk about, okay? Because it's not. I don't like when people say, I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about this. Why? Why don't we talk about it? Why? What are we scared of? What do we do? Does it make you uncomfortable? Well, That's life, my friend. That's life. You're going to be uncomfortable sometimes. I've been there. I've done it. I've been uncomfortable. And I came my way back. You see what I'm saying? And the lessons that I have learned is, if we're going to talk about politics, there's a way to do it respectfully. There's a way to do it respectfully. Now, I know that it's an uncomfortable conversation. I know it's uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable. Get uncomfortable. Stay uncomfortable. Life is hard. What did Candace Owens say? Life is hard. Get a helmet, okay? That's what she said, okay? And I stand by that 2,000%. Because I don't want anybody to tell me what I can and what I can't fucking talk about. Ever. No one's ever going to tell me what I can talk about. Ever. Never, ever, ever. You know? And God forbid someone ever tries to tell me what the fuck to do. It's not going to work. This is why I find myself to be the exception. That's not a good way to say that. Like, the exception, not the rule. But I would rather say, this is why I'm a different kind of person. Because I don't like identity politics. It actually gets on my nerves. It does. Because if you look at me, you're automatically thinking that I'm a liberal, and I hate that, you know? You didn't have a conversation with me. You didn't talk to me. You didn't ask me my positions. You don't know what the fuck I am. I can't say never, because sometimes I do. Sometimes I make the stereotypes, But, listen, if you don't talk to me, you don't know what the fuck I think. And this is what I mean by staying uncomfortable. Because if you are in a comfortable zone, if you are just comfortable all the time, you're never gonna grow. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Never gonna do it. And I relate this to politics because if you're still to today saying that Donald Trump is a racist and he's a xenophobe and a homophobe and all the phobes and all the everything, you're the problem, my friend. You are the problem. And guess fucking what? Here's a hard pill to swallow, especially for gay people. You're sitting there on your $1,000 fucking phone, putting something on social media about a Trump, about a this person or that person over here, how you doing? You're putting that on social media. You're saying you don't have a king. You're saying that America should never have a king. America obviously doesn't have a king if you're allowed to say what the fuck you want. Always. Always allowed to say what you want on your $1,000 phone with your dime bag of weed and getting fucking drunk every 2 days. What are you doing? Now you got something to say. I know. And so it's really rich. And that is what I just don't have time for. I don't have time for that. And I don't have time to sugarcoat for nobody. I don't have time. And this is why I need this podcast. Because we're 50 minutes in? I can't say that on a 1-minute video on TikTok, okay? This is why I need this podcast, and this is why it's going to become very special to me and just very special. Coffee Talking Common Sense is the best title. I have to give credit where credit's due. That's from my friend Diane. She's like the best ever. She's the best ever. I mean, I could talk for... Listen, Coffee Talking Common Sense, right? When you have coffee talk, you're talking to your friend, you're having your coffee, coffee talk, kitchen table talk, coffee talk, same thing, right? This is what I want this to be, because I'm no holds bar, okay? I don't care what we talk about. I don't care when we talk about it. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, when I want to talk about it, how I want to talk about it, to whomever I want to talk about it to. And I just did that through all the haters. I just did that in one breath. Fuck off, okay? Respectfully. Now listen. That was just the story of the episode. Now I have a couple questions to get through because you guys asked me some questions. And I put a poll out on Instagram to be a little bit of a Q&A sesh. And thank you guys so much for asking the questions. Okay. So Linny, I love that. She said to talk about your background, where you grew up, went to school, and your influences when you were younger. I kind of touched on that in this anyway. Thank you for your question, by the way. I grew up in Philly, still in Philly. I always had different influences, but from different things and for different things. So, I brought up like Tracy DeMarco, right? One of my influences. I mean, she was always strong in her opinion, and yeah, she got a little rowdy sometimes, but don't we all get rowdy? And, but she was so beautiful and so like, she had the style, the whole thing, right? Younger. I went through many phases when I was younger. And I thought I was going to be this big time like singer at one point. I thought I was going to be, the next Charlotte Tilbury at one point. I thought I would be Mariah Carey by the time I'm 18, but that didn't happen, and we're here, and thank you for being here. I found influence in a lot of different ways, not just through people, but through TV shows, mostly reality. And that sounds harsh and sounds like weird, but like it really, a lot of the things like shape me personality wise, because when you're gay and you're young, you're just like, who the fuck am I? Like, who can I be at this point, Like Tamar Braxton is one of my favorite humans ever. That whole family I really love, but like Tamar, that's my girl. That was like my high school personality. And like, she has the voice of a fucking angel, okay? Nobody sings like Tamar, okay? Just so we're clear. But I never really had political influences when I was growing up, I gotta tell you. Nobody ever like, my grandpa was like a really big influence on like all of my family, but like, as far as like big political figures, not really. But thank you for your question. All right. Did you lose friends? Of course. 1,000 of them on Snapchat in a day. But yeah, of course. And you know what? If you're losing friends because of your political views, like, they were never your friends to begin with, by the way. Because I ain't losing friends over no politics. I'm not dropping you as a friend because you're a liberal. I'm friends with liberals, okay? I'm friends with many liberal. I'm friends with trans people. I'm friends with anybody that's just a fucking genuine human. I don't care who you are. You see what I'm saying? The left does, though. See, so watch out. Let's see. This is a good one. As a gay conservative, how have you been treated by both of those communities? So, the conservatives, it's funny because I like to say all the time that I don't want to play identity politics. But when conservatives meet me, the first question is not like, oh, you have the makeup on or all the things. It's always like, so you believe that, right? And it's always like that skepticism. Because sometimes people think that I'm like grifting or I'm like lying. I'm like, I can't have a platform of, at this point with combined like 300,000 people. I can't, there's no way that I can have a platform like that and be lying. I mean, I guess you could, but I don't have that time because I can't remember my lies, so I'd rather not lie at all, And especially not about this. Because you gotta remember, I still work, I still have a 9-to-5. I still do all those things. So like, this is not conventional. Do you know what I mean? So it's different because I don't have like family money. I'm not being like handed billions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like, I still work for what I have, So doing politics on the side is not really something that you should just like automatically go to. You know what I mean? The LGBT though, and this is going to be a whole episode in its own, but the LGBT community are being used as fucking puppets and they don't even see it. Okay. Not all of the LGBT, but most. Okay, most. And it's really sad. It's really sad. Because I was indoctrinated. Oh, sure. I was told that if I was a Republican that nobody would ever, fuck with me. You know what I mean? Just because of who I am. Well, here we are. That's going to be a whole episode in its own at one point because I really have to address the LGBT because, this is why I love that I'm doing this podcast because, like, I just need more than a minute. I'm going to keep saying it, but I need more than a minute. But I love all the Janine and, all these people that say, like, we love you and, like, we can't wait to follow your journey. Thank you, by the way. I don't have a question, but, I'm so here for this. What's it say? I'm so here for this. Have you ever met the president? I have never met the president, but I will. Let me throw a caveat in there. I don't even care if the president was President Trump and he was a Republican. I would take any meeting with any president, even if it was a socialist president, just because that's the president of the United States. I would have went to go meet President Biden. I would love to meet President Obama. You know what I mean? It's a president. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't know. I don't want to meet any president. You know what I'm saying? What was your turning point? So I feel like there's more than one turning point. My first turning point was COVID and how Trump and the Republican Party handled it in wanting to open up our country. So that was like the first turning point, you know? Now my turning point has turned to something serious after September 10th and is like, I need to talk and I need to talk louder and I need to speak up louder, because if you're not hearing it now, you're going to hear it at some point and you're going to hear it from the wrong people. I'm giving it to you nice, but let's really understand that, you know, I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, this is the time I need to talk louder, because you guys are being strung like puppets, and not even just the LGBT community, just everybody. Like, you're being strung by puppets by the Democrat Party, and you don't even see it, and it's so sad. It really is. I mean, look what's happening now. You protested no kings on one day, then you're begging for a king to give you the food the next with the EBT. How the fuck does that go? How's that? What are we doing? I don't understand. Not a question, just wanted to say I subscribe to YouTube. Thank you. Thank you so much. What was the hardest lie that I ever fell for, like in politics-wise? The hardest lie was that you can get things for free and nobody else pays for it. This is what the Democrat Party says, okay? Because there's always someone that pays for it, whether it's my tax dollars, your tax dollars, anybody's tax dollars. There's someone that's always paying for it. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that that wasn't why, you know, I voted for Hillary Clinton, because she sold us a dream. Well, I like my First Amendment, I like my Second Amendment, and the amendments after that too. So, you know. What was my, I love this. What was my walk away moment? I think that's the same thing as my turning point, but, you know, just know I think we're on the right track, you know, in America, but also we're on the right track. How did your family and friends react? My family couldn't care less. Like, you know, we're like, listen, I know my family. I know that we're all conservative. You know what I mean? Even though not everybody follows the same thing, I just know that we're all conservative. Like, for me, I'll put it all out there. Like, you know, I'll put it all out there, because I don't care. But I just know that we're all conservative. What is my biggest frustration with the left currently? The biggest frustration is that they think that just because they're on the left and they take things seriously and they're just so, you know, vulnerable, and they're so, what's the word? They're so, well, so I'll come back to it, but just because they think that they're so high and mighty, you know, because that the left is full of social issues and they take that part of it very seriously, I think that they think that they're superior, when you're not hearing Republicans when we talk. You know, you're not hearing it, right? I think human rights, I love human rights. Everybody should have rights, but we do have rights. It's called the Constitution. Do you see what I'm saying? And the left forgets that sometimes. Then they'll blame Republicans for taking rights away. But then when I ask you what rights Donald Trump has taken away from me, you can't answer that. That's my telltale sign of, you're a joke. You know what I mean? If you can't answer me what kind of rights are being taken away from me as an LGBT person, okay, you're a joke. And I think you should really do your research, because if you're going feelings over facts, you're a jerk off, actually. That's what you are. I know. So a lot of these questions are about Charlie Kirk and the Middle East. And if I'm pro-choice or pro-life, I'm pro-life. I'm very pro-life. But those are questions that we're going to answer soon. And I wanted this to kind of be our little conversation between me, you, and I. Between us, into the way that I switched from the left to the right, the reason why I switched from the left to the right, and the reason that this podcast is even a thing. You know, I look forward to doing weekly episodes, and I think the weekly episodes, I mean, I think it's only right that they come out on Monday, because Monday is when we need that little burst of coffee talk, you and I, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's only right that they're uploaded early in the, you know, morning, and we'll see. But just know that This is going to be uploaded every Monday, like clockwork. And, you know, I hope you guys tune in. And I hope you guys find something from this. And, you know, I'm still going to make YouTube. I'm still going to make TikToks. And I'm still going to make the Instagram Reels. I'm still going to do that. This is just going to be an extension of what's actually happening in the world. And, like, giving me that moment, that true time to explain myself. Because I kind of can't on a 1-minute TikTok. This is what this podcast was born off of. And who doesn't like coffee swap? You know what I mean? But that was pretty much all the questions. If I didn't get to your question in this video or this episode, I'm going to get to them. Because a lot of them had to do with the Middle East, with Charlie Kirk and all the things. My next episode, I think I'm going to dedicate to Charlie Kirk and really tell you some things that I went through, especially with learning from Charlie and how Charlie was like an inspiration. But we're also going to take it into Israel and Palestine. We're going to make it like a twofer. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I so appreciate you. If you got to the end, let me know. We should come up with a code word for whoever got to the end. I know you're going to say that anyway. But this was so fun. I love this. I have to figure out how to do all the techie stuff. But once I figure out everything, like that's getting on my nerves. But like once I figure out how to do everything, we're going to be so lit. This is also going to be a learning experience podcast. So my laptop is going to be overworking itself because, you know, we're really going to take this. We're going to do this thing. We're going to do this thing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I so appreciate you. This was Coffee Talk and Common Sense.